Mercedes Mone is in the headlines, and she's in the headlines for another reason, because she recently spoke about WWE fixing what was a big problem that they had. And in this video, I'm going to break it down, because Mercedes Mone, she is now All Elite. She has officially debuted in AEW at the Big Business episode of AEW Dynamite in mid-March. Now, she has been able to experience both what it's like in WWE, what it's like in AEW, what it's like in New Japan, Stardom, etc., right? She's has this wealth of knowledge, if you will. And while in WWE, she was a very big star under Sasha Banks, right? She was a singles champion, a tag team champion. She had countless reigns as both. On Raw, SmackDown, Women's Tag Team Championships, a notable run with Bayley, right? They were the ones that pushed for these said titles. They were the ones that were at the forefront of WWE introducing Women's Tag Team Championships, because think about the evolution, the revolution in which WWE has undergone with women's wrestling. We've gone from, they had a division in the 90s, it got demolished, then they treated women like pieces of meat, then they were managers, then they started doing diva-style matches where these women were not even allowed to throw more than a few punches, right? They were all forearm shots. And then in NXT, after years of what TNA Wrestling was doing with its Knockouts division, finally WWE gave these women a platform. They gave them the ability to go out there and shine and put on matches that were not bra and panty matches. They were matches that could go toe-to-toe with any men's match on the card. Something that TNA did year after year after year, while WWE presented its female talent as divas, for God's sakes, right? Your Gail Kims, your Awesome Cones, your ODBs, etc. They were shining in TNA Wrestling. Finally, Triple H, he's like, okay, the women wanted this, the women got this. And Mercedes Mone, and your Becky Lynch's, and your Charlotte Flairs, and your Paiges, and your Sarayas, and all of these female talent, well, they revolutionized things in NXT, and fans were starting to notice this, and we got the evolution on the main roster, where it wasn't just the Bella show, right? They called up these women, and Mercedes Mone was such a integral part of the women's evolution. So, what is this big problem that she feels like they fixed? Well, she was on the Kick Rots podcast, and she got emotional talking about how far women's wrestling has come over the last 10 years, because for some fans out there, it's hard to picture the wrestling business differently to where it is now when it comes to equality with female and male wrestlers, where female talent is looked at and used and booked as the same way as men. It was only dreamed of that women could headline pay-per-view events, or PLEs, right? We did get the Trish Stratus Lita match, I believe, in 2004 on Monday Night Raw in the main event. But other than that, they were on the back burner. Mercedes Mone, who joined WWE in 2012, 4 years before the Divas Championship was later changed to the Women's Championship in 2016 at WrestleMania 32, a title at the time that was held by Charlotte Flair. She thought and saw how women went from an afterthought in the eyes of fans and in the eyes of management to being put on the forefront and in the center of attention. And on the Kick Rots Wrestling podcast, she said this regarding women's wrestling and the evolution and how far it has come in recent years. "It could make me cry," Mone said. "It's beautiful. I'm going to put over the women because it's just not the women, it's the men. This is the most pro wrestling. This is the most pro wrestlers in history of pro wrestling, and it's most women have ever been a part of the business. To see how many women are at pro wrestling schools, to see how many women are at different promotions, from independents to Stardom to TNA to AEW to WWE, it's like I have no words." She admitted that only 8 women were in the developmental system when she first joined WWE. Now that obviously that number has grown year after year after year, and since then, Mone has also credited the love of Japanese wrestling for helping her realize that women can wrestle as hard as men. She also admitted that she doesn't think the word diva has the same connotation as it once did, claiming that she couldn't stand watching wrestling with her mom and grandmother out of fear of being teased. However, these days, obviously, the Divas attitude, the Divas moniker, well, it's retired. And that is a problem that WB had for years and years and years. But they fixed it. I think of the moment where we got WrestleMania 35, where it was Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey and Charlotte Flair for the Raw and SmackDown Women's Championships. They headlined WrestleMania 35 in 2019. Such a pivotal moment in wrestling history. Thank God Nia Jax punched Becky Lynch in the face, right? Like, originally Survivor Series in 2018, it was going to be Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch. We were going to get that dream match. A dream match that we still have not gotten, obviously, because Nia Jax broke Becky Lynch's orbital bone and knocked her out of the match. And we got Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey because of it. But if you take that WrestleMania main event, then 2 years later, we get another historical first. We have Sasha Banks, a.k.a. Mercedes Mone, and Bianca Belair, for I believe it was the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania 37. They headlined the first night of WrestleMania. It was the first time that there was a all-female black women match. That didn't make sense. It was the first ever black female match to headline WrestleMania. It was the first time that 2 black athletes took the stage and headlined WWE's biggest event of the year. Mercedes Mone has not only witnessed history, she has made history. And say what you want to say about the diabolical and devil-like Vince McMahon, but he put those 3 women in the main event of WrestleMania 35. He put Mercedes Mone, Sasha Banks, against Bianca Belair at WrestleMania 37. He allowed them, finally, he had to be dragged and rubbed through the mud because of it, but he put females in those positions. He's still just a horrible person, but it happened in WB, and they finally fixed their faults, where they allowed these women to main event these big events, not just WrestleMania, but other events. They put these women, and now they have their own Royal Rumble, their own Money in the Bank. They've had Hell in a Cells. They've had War Games. And ironically, most of those matches, they involved Sasha Banks. They involved Mercedes Mone.